Martin Popoff here for another episode of The Contrarians. And on behalf of Marco and myself, this is a new concept. We wanted to come up with a third show idea. So we've got the regular Contrarians show. We've got the Worst Album edition. But we wanted to come up with another show that had something to do with the idea of still being contrarian. So we came up with this idea of the Contrarians Presents. And what it is, as you can see in the show description, we're going to do shows on contrarian ideas within the music we love, the music industry or whatever, but freeing ourselves up from doing just albums by bands and saying, oh, we think this is the best album by this band. So this is an interesting one I came up with. I wanted to do this, well, I'll tell you how I got inspired by this, but we're going to call this episodes alternate band logos. I was going to call it one and done band logos, but then I was realizing that the rule was kind of getting broken here and there. So I went with a slightly more nebulous title. But the idea of this is that I think these bands along the way stumbled upon, came up with something that could have served as a band logo and was used once or twice or whatever, but then it was more or less put aside for something else. And there's actually some interesting kind of twists on that story for these examples. So I've got 10 examples here for you, roughly fitting this idea of alternate band logos. So the first one I want to show you is this one right here, Budgie Improbable. What happened with this? This is actually the one that actually got me thinking about doing this episode, because I've always loved this cool, knocking out of the letters with a wing thing on the word budgie. I thought it was really modern and slick, and it's it's different from the Budgie logo. We all know that wispy Roger Dean sort of thing. So I thought this was a great logo that they came up with, and it was kind of a one and done. They never went back. In fact, they went back to the Roger Dean one after the old style Roger Dean. I don't know who did this particular Budgie one, but yeah, I like this logo as much, if not better, than the other one, because the other one is so much like Yes as well, the standard Yes logo. So I thought this was kind of a cool direction that they could have gone in, and I thought it was really clever, the idea of the cutting out and putting the wings on there. Okay, another one that was sort of the second one that got me thinking that I could do a show on this is this one right here, Rush Signals. Now, Rush is a band that didn't have a logo per se ever, but it brings up a kind of an interesting point. Like this Signals one was used on some singles and stuff, so it's used on the branding at the time, and that's kind of what Rush did. But over time, you go back to the well and find things and reuse them again. So the logo from the debut, for example, we've seen that in a few places. Beyond the Lighted Stage, right? It's used for the movie, and then you also see the Hemispheres logo used a fair bit, and that's a pretty cool one too. But I've always liked this Signals one, and it always felt like a logo to me, which brings up another point. That's a kind of the theme of this show. Everything that you're going to see here feels like it's not just a straight type style. It's something that looks like it was some thought was put into it that it could actually be a logo. But then, as I say, they're kind of discarded. So hence the title alternate logos. They aren't the actual logos of these bands. So our next selection is this one right here. Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. I've always thought that was an incredible logo that should have been a logo. And Black Sabbath is another one of these cases where they didn't have a logo, but they'd stumble upon something and then kind of start using it over and over again. Hence, a good example of that is the Master of Reality, the spooky psychedelic purple. That thing gets used over the years. The other one that gets used over the years is the idea of the slashing S, like the Kiss S in Black Sabbath. So that gets used over the years. But this one, interestingly, there is actually a DVD that brings up the use of the triangle instead of the thing for A, but not in this kind of nuclear fashion. But I always thought that was a logo that Black Sabbath could have, should have possibly used over again. But of course, when you don't do a logo, it really frees up the graphics, and there's something even kind of classy about not having a logo as well, which is sort of a cool thing. Okay, our next example is actually, where is it here? Let's see. Hang on. Sorry, I had to hit pause there because I didn't have it pulled out here. So it's actually this one here, AC/DC, Power Age. Now, I've always liked that. And I'm kind of picking it here because I've always liked it, but I don't love it. But for some reason, I've always had it in for the regular AC/DC logo. Never liked it. It looks kind of like a soap opera-y, very conservative, kind of staid, and kind of different than the way I sort of envision the band. So I always liked that. And I like the Power Age thing there, but this is something that that wasn't used. So early on, of course, they they didn't particularly have a logo, but then they stumbled upon one and just kind of stuck with it, just kind of like they did with their sound over the years, right? Okay, next example, this one right here, ZZ Top Tejas. I love that as a logo. The whole idea of the little star in there for Texas. So that to me looks like a logo, and they essentially didn't really have a logo leading up to this. And then they stumble upon one or whatever, it gets designed with the big slashing intertwined, Zs. And then that gets used a lot, but not all the time, but it becomes sort of a standard bearer. What I found sort of interesting is when you get to the next album after Tejas, De Guayo, so they don't use it there, right? But they do use it on the slip case that goes in that goes over top of the actual album cover, except it's missing the star, but it's essentially pretty much the same type style as was used on Tejas. But no, I love that Tejas logo, and I think that could have been a logo that they could have used over time. All right, our next example is this one right here, the Yes logo. Roger Dean, this obviously the proper Yes logo is amazing, and it's a standard bearer, and it's the one that got used a whole bunch of times before this kind of thing, and then a whole bunch of times after. But there was this brief period. It's on the box set as well. What is that box called? The big kind of yellow one. I've got actually 2 copies of that. One of them fully signed, one of them not signed. But yeah, so this is just a House of Live from House of Blues, stupid title. But there's a neat Yes logo that I thought was a cool update. I love the way the E is done in that. So, I don't know if I'm saying this is better than the regular Yes logo, but it's a pretty awesome logo as well. Obviously, they had the talk thing as well, and then a few albums that don't have a logo. But there you go. That's another example of alternate logos that I think are awesome. Here's an interesting case. Led Zeppelin. Now, Led Zeppelin's a funny one because, you go along with Zepp, and you get to Led Zeppelin 4, and they use this cool type style for the songs there. But there's no, famously, there's no text on the Led Zeppelin 4 album cover, even though it's a gatefold. There's nothing on the front, the back, the spine. There's nothing on the inside. But you do get this inner sleeve with the Stairway lyrics, and you get some scant credits, but then you get this type style. That type style rears its head again on the inner sleeve of Houses of the Holy. There you go. But still, it's not particularly a Led Zeppelin logo until that type style is used again for the likes of The Song Remains the Same. So there you get what's sort of considered the iconic Led Zeppelin logo, but we know Led Zeppelin didn't particularly use a logo all the time. But so that's an interesting case. It's the alternate to having no logo at all. The alternate in this case is that they kind of slowly over time piece together a logo from these wispy inspirations, just like the song Stairway to Heaven. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's the use of that logo again on the Mothership album, right? So there you go. So I thought that was kind of cool. A next example, we're up to number 8. I'm doing 10 here, right? Is this logo here. So Aerosmith. Toys in the Attic. It's not a one and done. It's an alternate. They did use it again on Rocks. But then we get the new stylized one with the wings that becomes the iconic one that's used all the time. And even interestingly, on Get Your Wings, there's even a more crude version. So it evolves from Get Your Wings through Toys and Rocks into the one that we all know now, the big famous one. But I always thought this alternate logo was my favorite. I just really love the whole look of that. It's a little simpler, a little cleaner. It obviously takes two colors to render it, which is a difference with the new one. It's really only takes one color to render it properly. So there you go. That's number 8. Number 9 is this band right here, one of my favorite bands of all time, certainly from any quasi-modern era, Clutch. There you go. So there's the Clutch logo as it exists on Strange Cousins from the West and a few other ones, but not too many. The main logo that Clutch uses is sort of this one here that looks like kind of a tour decal, road case decal logo, a skateboard logo. I don't particularly like it, but they've used it again later on later albums. But yeah, they did use this one in a few places. I've got a shirt with that looks really cool. I love that logo. So there's the alternate Clutch logo that I think is their best logo. And finally, an interesting case as well is our final example here, Alice Cooper. Welcome to My Nightmare. Now, Alice Cooper never had a logo. Various cool different type styles along the way. Killer could have been something that might have turned into a really cool logo, but this is one that is really studied and well designed and done really cool. Oddly, here's a cool thing. At least somebody else thought it was cool, because when they made these pirate bootlegs, whatever they're called, these Russian CDs that were floating around for a while, they went and used it again. One other interesting case with Alice, because it's kind of amazing when you start thinking about these things, what comes to mind. But take a look at this. I never realized this before, but Trash and Hey Stupid kind of use the same logo. So he did have a logo that lasted for a couple records there. So that's kind of interesting. It's not particularly good. So I would say the alternate Alice Cooper logo that is my favorite, that would have been pretty cool, is that Welcome to My Nightmare look. So there you go. There's an episode of the Contrarians Presents. So we've gone down a contrarian alternate road for logos. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We've also got a Patreon as well. We've got a lot of exclusive content over there, and we're doing kind of live get-togethers with the guys over there. So yeah, support us on Patreon. That would be really cool. That's the only thing we're doing, actually. But yeah, so we've got that. But yeah, comment below. Let us know what you think. We were trying to think of other cool examples that fit this. I'm dying to see what you come up with. Maybe there's a second show in here if there's some really, really clear, awesome examples that we didn't think of. Thanks for now.
That's it, dude.